What do you see when you see me? That's what I heard in my left ear. What do you see when you see me? I was at a hospital visiting a parishioner, and we were in the day room having a pleasant conversation, and I overheard that question coming from a couple of folks that were visiting in the same room. What do you see when you see me? It came from a young girl, and her companion, boyfriend, brother, answered her, I see a pearl of a girl. What do you see when you see me? I see a pearl of a girl. Later, I found out that part of the challenge that this young girl was tackling was that she only spoke in rhymes. And if you wanted her to respond to you, you had to speak in rhymes too. An important question she asked, what do you see when you see me? It really is a question rooted in our very first reading from the Hebrew Scriptures, from the Old Testament. We have these two women, Sarah and Hagar. And clearly Sarah looks at Hagar and she sees a slave. She sees someone who is other, not like me, less than. But God sees things differently. When God saw Hagar, he saw a human being. He saw his daughter. Sarah first saw the slave, one burdened with slavery. Sarah didn't recognize first the human being. We can't be too harsh on Sarah because I think that can often be an inclination for us as human beings when we see others. That maybe the first thing that we notice is what is different in them, what separates us from them, particularly if it's a challenge. Somebody who might be struggling, for example, with an addiction. Do we see the heroin addict? Or do we see a human being who is burdened with this addiction? Do we see the alcoholic, the workaholic, whatever the fill in the blank might be, that separates us, that makes the other seem lower than we? Do we see that first? Or do we see a fellow human being, a daughter of God, a son of God? See, this is the great thing that all of us can have confidence in, that when God looks at us, when God sees us, there's never a moment that God defines us first and foremost by our weakness. That God looks upon us and sees his precious creation, human being, his daughter, his son. And the rest of God's story, the rest of our story, is meant to move on from there. And that's not only something that God can do, but that's something that you and I are invited to do. How might our day be different? How might our neighborhood be different? How might our workplace be different? How might our school be different? If when we look at another person, we first look at what unites us, that makes us the same. Good Pope John the 23rd said in his last will and testament, seek first what unites, not what divides you from one another. God does that every moment of our life, and it brings us redemption, fullness of life, and salvation. But you and I, as daughters and sons of God, can make that presence of the Lord even more concrete and real as we look upon one another and see not first the burdens that another carries that makes that person other than us, but see what truly makes us children of God.